This week's show is brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts, helping podcasters get their shows off the ground and running at a low cost. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com today to get started. Hit up the Contact Us section, fill out your information, and your show could be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all your favorite podcast platforms in no time. It's professional sounding podcast production done the right way at a low rate without you ever having to think about any of the production stuff. You don't have to learn how to edit. You don't have to learn how to get your show wherever you need it to get to. All you have to do is sign up with Pretty Easy Podcasts, worry about the content, worry about being creative and doing your show your way. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com.
This is the future. This is not the past.
The new XFL will kick off in 2020.
If you smell what the XFL is cooking.
It's still football, but it's professional football reimagined.
This is our moment, our story to tell. This is history begun.
This is the XFL.
Welcome, football fans. This is the week of June 16th, 2019. This is the road to 2020, and this is the XFL show. I'm Alan.
I'm Jake.
I'm Vince.
And I'm Bryant.
And, whoo boy, player scouting's getting intense. We're running up and down the eastern seaboard to cover it all. This is episode 73, New York and DC Summer Showcases. Guys, I am logging the hours, driving to Summer Showcases for these two cities this week. We've got a bunch of content from those, as well as a big interview at the end of the show. It's a different kind of show this week. Are you prepared?
We don't have a choice. This train ain't stopping if we're not prepared. So you better get aboard and fasten that seatbelt.
Yeah, and this is just kicking off these showcases. It feels like we have a Grand Prix of showcases coming in the next several weeks.
What is with you and Grand Prix? All off air. You're just talking about Grand Prix. I don't. If that's what you want to call it, whatever you want to label it as. It's a lot of summer showcases. We've got four down now.
Oh my goodness! I saw this list of players that you sent me live from the showcase in New York, and just looking at these names, and I knew quite a few of them. I'm just getting so excited to see what these guys run, see their 3-cone, see how they perform in drills, and probably most importantly, their official measurements.
Verified is the word we're looking for.
That's your cue, Jake, to get really excited about verified measurements.
Yeah, I wish everything was posted. That. All the results were posted on XFL.com.
We'll get it. Don't worry.
Well, I'll tell you what.
That should really be something on the Freedom of Information Act. We should be able to send away and get it.
The XFL is not posting verified measurements on any players, and they're not posting the 40 times. But I went to 2 of them this week, and I had my own charts. If you want to see the chart, the players I charted, Jake, you're going to have to pay up. Because I have some verified measurements and times of my own.
Did you have your calipers there, and you were measuring body fat? And
we weren't. The media was allowed to get close, but not that close, Vince. No, XFL New York and DC Summer Showcases in the books, and for our general patrons, you get all this content right away as soon as we're able to post it. So we appreciate you for that. But I was all over the place at these two showcases, guys, talking to players, coaches. Oliver Luck himself, we're going to hear from on this episode. And Bryant, we've got a very special interview that we did earlier in the week for the end of the show.
If you ask me, the best interview we've done so far since the launch of this show back in 2018, yes, the LA president herself, Heather Brooks Karatz, joins us, giving us some great details. She's quickly becoming my favorite person. I think she already is my favorite person at the XFL. So insightful, so friendly. Vince, you're a part of that interview. Please confirm my statements.
Yeah, she's got a great passion for this organization that she's a part of. She wants to get the word out there, and it was just very exciting to hear about it.
So it's a different kind of show this week, where instead of the formal format where we're going to talk about some news here and there and then do our big topic in the hot read, this week we're going to play you interviews and clips from my time at the Summer Showcases and our full interview with Heather Brooks Karatz from XFL L.A. It's been a busy week. And first up, we're going to have to start with the commissioner himself, though, Jake. Oliver Luck hitting up all the summer showcases and is ecstatic that player scouting's underway. I got to talk to him, and if you were in my shoes, I know what you would have asked Oliver Luck, and I'll tell you right now, I didn't ask him about team names on purpose for that reason.
Well, yes, of course, that's what I would have wanted to ask him, but I wouldn't have asked him that because I know that's just not on the docket yet. I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about you there, like sizing people up like you were trying to fit them for a suit or something like on the field. I can't get my mind off that.
I was mostly interested in the one-on-one lineman drills, some speed rushing drills. We saw some
people's wings.
Are we going to be able to? Can you give us a peek of what you saw? Who stood out?
Player wise, I'll say that quarterbacks in New York first. Joe Callahan, who's got all this experience playing in the NFL, looked pretty solid, I have to say, especially throwing some deep balls. Some of the quarterbacks, really interesting. I spoke to one of the quarterbacks that you're going to hear from a little bit later, and the balls that they were throwing was also of note because they were using these new XFL balls and also traditional college footballs. So we're going to get into that as well.
The list you sent us for the New York players, can you confirm that the quarterbacks that were on the list actually appeared at the tryouts? There are rumors out there, maybe even confirmed at this point, that last week, even though was it Zach Mettenberger and Brandon Silvers were on the list, didn't actually try out. Do you guys know this? Yeah,
the word is from last week, some players were there in attendance but did not work out completely. They only did some drills or got measured or did the interviews. Depending on what their agents were having them doing, I guess. This week, I believe we heard that Dexter McCluster would be in New York. Didn't see him there, at least on the field, guys.
He's not on your list either.
No, I'll say that. But I will also tell you that the quarterbacks in New York were for sure there, and the quarterbacks in New York look good. And I thought, like I said, Joe Callahan stood out, the quarterback from Wesley, who played in the NFL a bit with the Packers and the Eagles. And also tight end 35, Colin Thompson, a Temple tight end. Mm-hmm. I marked this on my notes, Vince. This guy is an undersized, short tight end, but he had some jukies out there. I mean, I've never seen a big tight end shake cornerbacks the way this guy was.
Really? Okay.
In the one-on-one drills, which is really cool to see. It's also based on your own rubric, your own scouting boxes you check. And mine might be different from what you would have seen, Vince, but I had a good time. I also will admit I spent some time watching the players intently, but not as much as you probably would have because I was running around trying to talk to Oliver Luck. And
I have just I know before we get into this Oliver Luck sound that you got, I'd like to ask about two specific players, if you're able to see them or not. Sean Hickey, he's lineman number 47. I was curious if you got a glimpse of him. And also very interested in Titus Howard, cornerback number 84.
Titus Howard. Yeah, I did see Titus Howard. I did not catch Hickey, the Syracuse lineman you're talking about. I caught Howard, who I believe did get ruined on a route by Syracuse wide receiver Irvin Phillips, if I'm not mistaken. Ooh. Irvin Phillips is a little shorter receiver, but a guy who had some shakes. I mean, crazy speed out there. And you could see it on the field. The speed that separated some of these guys was noticeable. And you could tell who is definitely going to be in this league, who might make this league, and who might be vying for maybe a spot on Team 9, Brian, because don't forget about Team 9.
Yeah, Team 9, I think a lot of people are forgetting about Team 9. There are going to be more than just 8 teams that need to be filled by these players. And 800 players all in total at these summer showcases. There's not going to be a lot of room for all these players, so it's going to be interesting once this all gets sorted out, how many of these players actually make rosters. Alan, you saying that some of these players are actually almost like clear that they're actually going to be XFL players is quite interesting. I never thought about it like that. Like, do you actually see full-fledged XFL players right now?
Yeah, and not all of them were of that caliber, but I could tell just by the speed on the field, but from some guys, they were just that much faster and crisp and more athletic than guys. You just know that the league is going to be signing those type of guys because they have to. And, I will also note Hakeem Nicks, the big name in XFL New York. I mean, just any media that was there was surrounding Hakeem Nicks after, was eyeballing him during. I mean, Hakeem Nicks had all the attention during the New York Summer Showcase.
Interesting. I mean, certainly a big name, a guy that very successful in the NFL. But yeah, I was impressed by some of the names also on this list. I mean, relatively young players didn't quite get a chance to get into an NFL camp. But, I feel like those guys are really going to be able to fill in the gaps here with guys that don't necessarily make the NFL and other big stars like Hakeem Nicks coming in there. I feel pretty solid about the talent coming into this league after seeing some of these players at the showcase.
Yeah, and that's what it's about, is giving guys who, like Eric Galko said to us, guys who probably should be in the NFL but haven't been given the shot because of one reason or another, usually because they come from such a small school or they've been playing in obscurity. But this is kind of putting a spotlight on a bunch of guys out there who are finally getting their shot, and it was cool to see that. And that was definitely the coolest thing to witness most of all, was just guys so excited to be out there with a shot at being a pro football player. And you'll hear me talk to one of them, Alejandro Bennifield, who was a Chattanooga quarterback, was there. I ran right up to him, the first quarterback I could find, because I want to know about those footballs. And also we're going to hear from Kevin Gilbride later on in the show as well, the New York coach. And you'll hear everything I got from XFL showcases, summer showcases in Washington, D.C., run by Pep Hamilton and his crew. But first, Jake, let's go to the man, the commissioner, Oliver Luck, who is running the whole thing. He's doing these chalk talks he's got videos, and he's stopping and starting them. He's giving lectures. You would have loved the chalk talk, Jake. That was right up your alley.
Oh, I'm sure I would have. Yeah, this is from your interview in Jersey. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. On the field in Montclair, New Jersey, during the XFL New York Summer Showcase, Oliver Luck, who was given chalk talks at all of these events, stood with me on the sidelines for a moment, and we chatted about summer showcases getting underway. So let's take you to Oliver Luck right now. Hello, football fans. Before we take you to our interview with Oliver Luck, I just want to tell you about the Patreon for This Is the XFL Show, which is the ultimate place to ride down that road to 2020. It is the place where you can get interviews like our interview here with Oliver Luck, commercial-free, no ads whatsoever, get straight to the content. Also, you get it early, instant access. As soon as we have these interviews, we post them on Patreon for our general patrons. So if you want to get this stuff as soon as possible, please go to patreon.com/thisisthexfl show and give to any tier of your choosing. We have multiple tiers you could choose from. You could get shows early, you could get commercial free shows, you could get bonus content, all depending on which tier you subscribe to. So go check it out. At least check it out. Look at what we got there. We also have some free content on the Patreon. It is the ultimate, like I said, the best way to ride down that road to 2020 to kick off for the XFL. It's patreon.com/thisisthexfl show. Oliver Luck, we're here at the New York XFL Summer Showcase. How good does it feel to actually have league events on a field now?
It feels great. We've done a lot of work, certainly over the last year. I've been on board now a year, and of course Vince and others had done work even prior to that with workers' compensation programs, et cetera. So it just is great to get out in the field on a beautiful day like this with, 100 good players and a bunch of coaches, from our league, and watching guys have fun,
It's an awesome
that's what it's all about. I mean, all of us are in this business because we love football, and the reason we love football is you get to, watch guys like this perform, even though this isn't a game.
Yeah.
But watching 7-on-7 or the 1-on-1s is just a lot of fun. So we're
so
we're
excited.
very
It's exciting.
we're all pumped up.
choose the playlist?
No.
We've got our DJ up there.
My playlist would be a lot different, I think. But that's I'll defer to the young people.
And here at the Summer Showcase, we have representatives from all 8 teams.
Yes.
Yes.
So, we're doing one in each city. When we're in New York, for example, the entire New York coaching staff, Kevin's entire staff is here, but there's also representatives from the other clubs. So there's probably, about 35 or 40 of our coaches here today.
Very cool, very cool. And we have a lot of media here today, and you've afforded them the opportunity to run the 40 and participate in drills. Is this just for your own amusement?
Basically, yeah.
We're all looking forward to Darren Rovell running later on. Another big question everybody has is team names, and we're not going to ask you about that because we know those are coming. We're patient. We're excited for the Spring League event that's coming up. Again, we got 2 more of those, and the Spring League, is that the final round of testing? Will the rule book be coming out shortly after that?
So there's 2 more testing sessions with the Spring League. One is later this month, and then one is in July. They're both out in California, and after the July session, we'll get down to work to publish effectively our rule book. So we'll that'll come out, we believe, at some point in August. I want to get it out prior to the start of the fall football season.
Is there a real timetable? Does it matter to the league rule book or team names first, or do they?
No, I imagine team names will come out first. They're really unrelated.
Yeah.
What's important though is to get it out early enough so that our coaching staffs can begin to scheme, right?
Mm-hmm.
Begin to sort of figure out what they want.
They're scouting right now.
Yeah, I mean they're looking at players, and I think you're probably aware of sort of what our kickoff, what we're thinking it's going to look like, and I want them not only to draft players to obviously implement that scheme, but also to figure out how to take advantage of it.
Yeah,
because these are coaches. They want an advantage on every every snap.
Yeah, we're in the embryonic stages of the competition, but it has begun. Everybody's out here scouting, taking notes, and the rules are going to be in place, and they're going to be able to do that. Like you said, scheme. As far as the rule book, is that going to be available to the public?
Yes,
completely.
Yes, it'll be. I'm sure we'll post it online.
Awesome.
And I'm sure there'll be an old school printed version as well. But it'll be, and it's an important thing. Obviously, the rules of the sport are significant. Now, keep in mind the vast majority of our rules will be NFL rules, right? That's the default position, right? Because we think 95% of what happens in the NFL is awesome. Our innovation is really targeting sort of that 5% that fans said they would like to see this or that be done a little bit differently.
Well, I appreciate your time here at the Summer Showcase in New York. I'm going to be in D.C. tomorrow. If you are, I'll see you there.
I'll be there.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right.
You heard it. The rule book will be made public for us to read all the way, front to back, guys.
So, burning question. What would his playlist sound like?
I wanted to ask him, but I was told I only had a
lot
few
of John Denver.
I would have said Willie Nelson, but yeah, along the same vein as Vince.
No, that was a great interview. Great questions, Alan. That was very insightful in the short amount of time that you had him. Oliver Luck, always very professional, very informative. Looks like we're going to get, so he said rule book before the fall league, so that's in August, and he said team names prior to that. So we're looking at, July, August. It's going to be huge months for the league. Lots coming.
Very busy. And like he brought up there, the schemes, the coaches are, right now they can't really scheme too much because the rules need to come out first. So that is important, and that's why the spring leagues, the 2 more spring league events are happening, because the league really wants to make sure that their rules are right, and Oliver Luck let us know that. But I have to tell you guys, just from being there with Oliver Luck on the field, I could see it in his eyes. That's the cool part about having a commissioner who was a player. He was in hog heaven, as like so many of us were. It was kind of like a Comic-Con for football nerds. He was loving every second of being on the field. The commissioner of the league was in it, his workout gear. I saw him, hanging around with guys, tossing the ball a little bit. I mean, Oliver Luck is really the coolest kind of commissioner you could possibly have, Vince.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there for me. A guy who played the game, who's been involved with it, his whole life at many different levels, and he's really helped putting this vision into reality. I love what he said there. You could tell he's very passionate about it, and he knows what he's doing.
So you don't think that Gary Bettman is out there skating around trying to?
No,
I don't know if Gary Bettman's ever been on a pair of skates. Yeah, no, I don't think he's ever been on a pair of skates.
I mean, something I got from that is it sounds like there almost is a slight home field advantage for these summer showcases, where more of the coaching staff. I can't remember if you said all of the coaching staff or not. For the home city is going to be at those, so you do get a little more there, I guess.
Yeah, the home staff is the staff that runs the event along with the third party that the league has brought in to put the drills together and put everyone through them. But the home staff, Jake, you're right, gets their whole every member of that team will be there, and you've just got a handful of scouts from all the other teams. And
it's interesting too that he brings up that his rule book, the XFL's rule book, is going to be mainly NFL rules. It sounds like if you were to put a percentage, I was thinking about it. If I put a percentage on it, it feels like it's going to be 90%, maybe even higher than that, NFL rules. But if you look at the rules that they're probably going to be changing, that's way bigger. I mean, to throw two balls behind the line of scrimmage forward is not something that's just to be looked over, right? So, that sounds like the rules are going to be very NFL centric, but some of the bigger rules are going to be XFL centric that make those NFL rules kind of
And most notably, if you ask me, the kickoff and the fact that the XFL is not never, but won't botch replay as much as the NFL does. Let's just hope, at least, with all the reinforcements they have with referees that we've talked about. But an interesting thing that is just starting to be talked about, guys, is the ball itself. I mean, you saw the ball from the first showcases, did you not, Vince? Did you see the backlash that thing kind of got?
I did not hear about the backlash, no.
Yeah, so a lot of people, at least on social media, who just go to social media just to complain or say things, kind of poked fun at the ball because it does have the X's on the tips. It looked a little narrow to some people, but to me, it makes sense because that point on the football, I have a feeling it has a purpose, which might be making it easier to locate in the air with, it's kind of like a target on the ball, but it's not the original XFL ball, Bryant, which everybody does love, although it was problematic.
Yeah, Alan, but what about the team names? Yeah, there was some backlash. People didn't really like the balls. I liked it. I thought the X was very creative. We've talked, at least I've mentioned it. I feel like I'm not getting too much traction, but the XFL has the opportunity to make their game better for their players who are not NFL quality. If they make the ball a little more narrow, if they give it more grip, if there's a target on it, so be it. It helps their product be a little bit better, so it's more entertaining. It's not like they're making the field smaller or 9 players on defense and 11 on offense. They're making small little tweaks that are going to help their game be better and more entertaining for fans to watch. Why would people complain or why would there be backlash on that?
And also, the ball isn't official yet. It's not officially going to be that ball. And 2, guys, it doesn't matter what us fans really think of the ball, because what matters is how the ball feels and how it plays on the field. And that's what I decided to do at XFL New York Summer Showcase. I found the first quarterback I could, and I wanted to ask him about those footballs. And I ran into Alejandro Bennifield, who was a Chattanooga quarterback in college. He was there running through the showcase, and I had to hear how it felt playing with these new XFL footballs. So without further ado, let me take you to my real quick chat with Alejandro Bennifield, quarterback, XFL Summer Showcase, New York. Alejandro Bennifield, we were watching you throw earlier. The XFL balls were there. You had also a normal-looking ball. How did the situation work there with the new balls versus the traditional college ball?
Initially, no one liked the XFL balls. Yeah. They thought they were kind of slick and narrow, but we went 7-on-7. The coaches kind of forced us to only throw with them, and everyone ended up loving them.
It was all right?
Yeah, I actually kind of like the way they spin. They spin better than the other balls.
Yeah, we were watching, at least in drills, most of you guys were choosing the college ball over, just because that's what you're used to, right? So how was this, though, coming out here today, XFL Showcase in New York, getting the big opportunity? How was it for you today?
I'm just thankful for the opportunity. I had a lot of fun out there today. Had some good receivers, had some good quarterbacks out there. I feel like I did pretty well. A couple things to work on here and there, but overall, I feel like it's a great day.
And did they talk to you about what the process is going to be for players coming up next? Are you going to be maybe into another showcase, or will they be just saying wait and see? How's the process working for you guys?
What they told us was if they want you, they'll call you. They'll find you and contact you. If not, then Yes.
Yeah. You got it. You'll probably have another shot, though, because they're going to be looking for players constantly as they're building a league. How exciting is it, though, to know that there's so much pro football out there now in 2019 for a guy like you still, in your prime? I mean, you're going to have opportunities.
I just feel like it's a great time to be coming out and playing football or trying to get back into football because there's so many leagues and opportunities out there. I think it's just a great time for football.
Well, man, it's a great time for players, fans, and we appreciate you for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, see, they were skeptical, too, till they started playing with those footballs, Jake.
Yeah, and you know what? Even if they're not using a conventional football that everybody uses, it is going to be jarring for the new audience for about 10 minutes. And then I really don't think anybody's going to notice anything after that.
I don't even think that long. Plus, they look cool. And, I was just kind of obsessed with those footballs over the weekend at the summer showcases. They were really fascinating because, to me, Bryant, the negative things people were saying about them. I mean, how could you judge a football without even actually gripping it in your hands?
Look, these keyboard warriors are worried about a football that they're never going to how do I put this? It doesn't matter what it feels like in their hands because it's about the game. The game is what matters.
Judging a business that they've never worked in.
Look, I can look at these balls and I'm looking at them right now and they're very interesting. They're very different. I like them. I get if they're a little more narrow, they're a little more sleek, or the grip is better, then that's great. It really matters on the field what it looks like. And you're right, Alan. It's probably going to be less than 10 minutes, maybe not even noticeable at all that these balls are different as long as the game plays good.
And you know what? I'll tell you from experience, having held these footballs in my hands, they aren't too slippery. They feel good. They come off of your hand perfectly. And I love the point. I love as a colorblind person too, being able to locate the football. It's like a target on the football while it's in the air. I think they should go with it, but it's not official just yet.
Yeah, I mean, reimagining the game, that was one thing I don't think we really talked about was the ball. And this is an excellent idea. I think if the ball can be made better to make it travel in the air better or hold on to it better or what have you, I think that's an excellent idea. Excellent idea from the XFL.
And now that takes us to our next interview from Summer Showcases weekend on the East Coast, and it's our first head coach on the show. I got to stand at the 50-yard line at XFL Summer Showcase in New York with the XFL New York head coach Kevin Gilbride, who was a former NFL offensive coordinator, a Super Bowl champion with the New York Giants. He's taking over the New York team, and Vince, he is an offensive guy. He's one of the few coaches to hire an offensive coordinator yet.
Yeah, this guy has had tons of experience at all different levels in the NFL as far as offense goes and quarterback play. So him not having or having an offensive coordinator, I don't think it's a big issue. I think he has an idea of what he's going to do and he's going to fill that position appropriately.
Well, when you hear what he said to me, you're gonna learn more about that, and that's just what I asked him about, was the offensive coordinator situation as well as running showcases without having a rule book in place, which I know would frustrate someone like Jake, but let's hear how Kevin Gilbride's dealing with it, and we'll react to it. My conversation with Kevin Gilbride at XFL Summer Showcase. First off, I'm from Pittsburgh, so back when you were at the Steelers, you gave me your autograph when I was a kid at training camp, so thank you for that.
You feel real old.
It was great.
Jeez, even older than
I'm only 32, so it wasn't that long ago. So here we are at Summer Showcases, though, and you saw all sorts of talent out there. Overall, how did the day go for you?
It's good. It's impossible for one person to really get a thorough or in-depth evaluation of everybody. Yeah. So what you do is you kind of zone in it. There's some guys that, our personnel people had alerted me to, hey, coach, make sure you take a look at this guy, make sure you get a sense of how he can play. So that's what I try to do, focus in on a few positions as those guys that had been, earmarked for me to look at And that's what I did.
Yeah, I saw you kind of going spot to spot, watching quarterbacks, watching linemen throughout the day. And whenever you're going to assess talent now, but you're also thinking about your team and scheming. The rules aren't set yet for the league. The rule book's not out. So is it frustrating right now at the spot you're in where you can't really formulate a plan? And where are you at in that stage?
Well, here's what I said. We just met as a staff for a whole week. Mm-hmm. So in that week, my constant admonition to those guys is, hey, we have to be broad-based enough in our system because we really don't know what personnel we're going to get or what we're going to go against schematically. Now, once we get our personnel selected, then we can hone in a little bit more carefully and say, hey, we're looking for this, we're looking for that, a little bit more specifically. But right now, we're just looking for the best 45 guys we can put on our roster and the 7 best, practice squad guys we can add.
Yeah, it's very interesting considering the rule book's not set yet, but you still are assessing talent at the same time. But in a few months, you'll be able to put that all together. How was it though? Your first week, full week with the full staff, and you're slowly putting that together?
Yeah, it's an unorthodox, preparation skill. You're just so used to, hey, you're with each other all year long. Now that's not the way it is. You're with each other for a week. You have a few weeks off. You got to work independently, by yourselves. Continue to do the assessment. Now we'll really hone in on looking at the players here and the other ones that our personnel people have given us. And then we'll get back again in August and we'll kind of resume and hopefully finish up the playbooks and start to look at a little bit of film. And when I say film, not film looking at players, but film looking at scheme, just what you're talking about. But the final product is so much in flux, it really won't be.
We're close.
Well, we're close in terms of getting to the season, but in terms of identifying what it is we're going to have personnel-wise, so therefore this is what we're going to focus on or accentuate systematically remains to be seen.
Just want the best guys possible.
Right now, that's all we want.
Last question, the big one for you in particular. Everybody's been looking at your staff and offensive coordinators, been circled by people. Do you plan on calling your own plays? How's that going to work?
That's a great question that I'm not prepared to answer right now, only because I'm going to do some things that I haven't done before, and I may be overly ambitious, but what I'm trying to do is marry what I've always done with some of this RPO stuff that everybody's doing. So I brought in 2 guys that are very, very adept at doing that, and if I can feel comfortable enough, what I'd like to do is turn it over.
Yes.
Now, I normally can't stand it when I'm not calling the plays, but right now, in the perfect world, somebody else besides me is going to call the plays.
Yeah, and in a league with Hal Mummy and Norm Chow now and a bunch of great offensive minds.
Yeah, it should be fun.
There'll
be there's a lot of great coaches in this league.
All right, Coach, well, I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's tough to rely on someone to call the offensive plays when you've been a coordinator for that long, Vince.
Yeah, I can understand that. He's definitely going to have a major hand in the game plan. There's no doubt about that. And he may not call all the plays, most of the time, but you bet, crucial situations. Maybe it's going for a 2-point conversion or a 3-point conversion or a critical third down. He's going to be calling that play. There's no doubt about that to me.
A little peek into the thought process of XFL New York's head coach. I love the balance that Kevin Gilbride's always brought to the table, and now he's kind of thinking outside of the box, knowing that he's going to be in this higher octane league. Should be fun to see what he comes up with. Jake, I brought you up before the Kevin Gilbride interview there because he's in a situation where he has to put together a staff, he has to put together a roster, yet he doesn't know the rules. Would you be pulling your hairs out if you were a coach right now, having to do that? Is that kind of putting the cart before the horse?
I mean, personally, you guys know me. Of course I would be, but that's just me. But I mean, if you go back to the Oliver Luck interview saying, and I can't remember if he said 90% or if he just, what his exact wording was, but the majority of the rule book is still going to be the NFL rules or the parts of the NFL rules that everyone knows and loves and is comfortable with. So, there is going to be some tweaking, but, I'm pretty sure you're not going to the rules aren't going to accommodate for, you're not going to have to reteach somebody how to tackle or how to block or catch a football. So it's going to be specific things. And you know what? I'm not ruling out that the coaches don't know some of these rules already and they just can't say it. I would not rule that out yet.
That's true. You know, they can't say a bunch of things when it comes to team names. I mean, I'll tell you, at these showcases, every media person I knew was going up to anyone from the league trying to dig and get some info on that. And when it comes to the rules, you're right, Jake. The coaches might know something we don't know. That's for sure. But also, you have to think that even knowing that, having an idea for the rules and it not being 100% solidified just yet because we have spring leagues stuff yet to happen, it is interesting to see how they all deal with it. Kevin Gilbride seemed, anxious but pretty even keeled. Now, Bryant, I don't know when and if you get to talk to Winston Moss, if he's going to be that way in XFL L.A. I mean, he might. And also, I want to advise you, don't get too intimidated when you're talking to him if you get to talk to him at the showcase there in Los Angeles.
I absolutely am not going up to Winston Moss whatsoever. If he wants to come up to me, then maybe, because that man's intimidating. No,
Suck it up.
Oh yeah, make me do the dirty work here, huh? How do I put this? Kevin Gilbride's been out of the league, out of football for a good amount of time. Since 2013 was his last real coaching job. So for him to come back, to be able to welcome the changes that are coming, the RPO and the XFL changes, that's exactly what the XFL was looking for. So great answers there. Although, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to get the same thing out of Winston Moss, that's for sure.
It's fun though, because they're different styles. So you got Kevin Gilbride, who's coming into this new era of offense, previously being of a different ilk, a more balanced, run-oriented ilk. You have Winston Moss, the defensive guy. You've got the high-octane offensive guys out in Dallas and Houston. It's a bunch of different styles throughout the league, Vince, which makes it really interesting. And do you feel like Kevin Gilbride going into it might be handicapped or handcuffed compared to the other guys who have been active with them RPOs, as the kids say?
Well, I don't know about that. He's a smart enough guy that he can analyze that kind of stuff and adapt to it. I think he'll be just fine. I don't think it's really that much of a concern. And plus, whoever, the other people on his staff will be able to, give some insight into that kind of stuff. And I kind of have a feeling, once these coaches get a couple games under their belt and you really get a feel for how this game flow is really going to be, then we'll see who the real strategists are.
But Vince, in a season that's only 10 games long, can you afford that option to take 2 games to understand what's going on, or are you better off trying to figure out what's going on right off the bat?
Well, yeah, you got to, but eventually somebody's going to get punched in the mouth, and you're going to have to respond. Just because you've read the rule book a little bit closer than everybody else, isn't necessarily mean you're going to win. There's going to be some practice games, I would assume, and so I think that's going to help people really get the feel for how this game's going to flow. I mean, all these teams, you could practice as much as you want, and you can have, as much training camp and exhibition games. But when those lights come on, it's going to be an adjustment for everybody, I think.
You're setting this up to be an argument show, Vince. This is a interview and recap show, because I could go off. I think Jake would partner up with me on this. I think he who knows the rule book best going into this 2020 season will be most successful. But I don't want to argue about it right now.
I don't want to argue about it either. But it's still 95% football. So we're.
And 10% physical. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think you might be reaching a little bit there. I mean, everybody's going to get a copy of the rule book. It's hard to say. We don't know what the rule book is yet.
Oh, no. I'm not going to turn this into an argument. This is no. Never mind, Alan.
Save it.
Start with something else.
Save it for a future episode.
Can I say this? I will say this. Oh, that's a good point. Patreon. I will say this. He did confirm 45 players. That was confirmed before this, Alan. Can we?
45 players on rosters?
Yeah.
We know. Yeah, the roster size.
Okay. The one that was news to me, I thought that was confirmed. I just wanted to make sure. The one that was really news to me, though, was the 7-player practice squad members that they're going to get to have per team. It doesn't seem like that's part of the Team 9. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like you get separate. 7 more players on your own team.
Team 9 is separate from practice squads. We'll have practice squads and Team 9 in this league. Team 9 really is going to be a important pool of free agents, is how that's shaping up to be. And in DC, how their team's shaping up is through the eyes of Pep Hamilton, who is going to be competing with some of the very dignified older coaches when it comes to offense. He is a youngster, but still very well respected in the football community when it comes to offensive innovation. Also, he uses more of a base concept, but still is very, very set in his ways and very, very smart. It's going to be interesting to see how he clashes with the likes of Hal Mummy, Kevin Gilbride, and June Jones, Bryant. So when we get to DC, I'm there and I'm thinking, I'm talking to the young buck of the XFL. I'm talking to the guy who's ready to go out there and make a name for not only himself, but also for a brand of football that he absolutely believes in. And I'll tell you, from hearing him speak at the DC showcase, this is a guy who is ready to prove himself as a head coach.
He's ready for the challenge, and he also expects people to meet his challenge, which is come to my house and try your fancy stuff when I'm going to do what I do, what I've been doing best for a very long time. So I think Pep he's the young buck, and he's going to try to take all these other coaches' spots in terms of the offense, at least.
You think the DC team will be called the Washington Young Bucks?
Oh, that's not a bad name.
I like that. I don't know if that'll happen, but I know that Pep Hamilton's the head coach.
Wait, did you hear that at the summer showcase?
No.
Is that insider information?
No. All I heard was that there's going to be a certain brand of football played in DC, and you know what? I don't want to tell you about that. Why don't we let Pep Hamilton tell everybody about the brand of football they're going to play in Washington, D.C. Here's Pep Hamilton from summer showcases for XFL Washington, D.C. As the great Keith Jackson would say, hello, everybody. It's time to tell you about our next sponsor for this week's show, and it is Pretty Easy Podcast. You may have heard of them before. We'll tell you about them again because they help us get our show up and running every week. This is the XFL show would not exist without Pretty Easy Podcast. And if you are a potential podcaster or know someone who might want a podcast, you have a great idea, you just don't know the audio side of it. You don't know how to get your show out there. You don't know how to produce it. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com, and for seriously minuscule fees, you can get your podcast up and running and have a partner in podcasting right now. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com to get started today. Whether you are a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, a sports enthusiast, a comic book enthusiast, whatever the case may be, Pretty Easy Podcast is helping all kinds of shows. So go to prettyeasypodcast.com right now and get your show started right now. You know you want a show. You know you could do a show. You know you got someone out there to help you do a show. It's at prettyeasypodcast.com.
Super Kick Podcast!
How you guys doing? Good day's work, right? Yeah. Nobody got hurt, which is what's most important, right? Yeah.
What do you get down on a day like today? I mean, because there's so many people out there, there's so many numbers, so much data.
Yeah, we get a baseline evaluation on these guys that love to play football, and it was an outstanding day, as I mentioned. Everybody got out of here healthy for the most part, and it gave our league an opportunity to evaluate some young men that have a dying passion for this game. We get a chance to be a part of their journey to position themselves to make a good living playing football. And so, helping guys to realize their full potential is every coach's duty. And it was a great day of work for the XFL.
Coach, what's your approach knowing the rule book's formulating right now and you can't quite scheme just yet as you evaluate talent that might fit what you plan on doing?
Well, that's a great point. Great question that you just posed. Really, I think right now we're just, as a staff, just working to get our system in place, and we're putting our play plan together as opposed to a game plan. And we know what we want to do, and I think we'll be darn good at it. We want to have a tough, smart football team, and we're going to be physical. We expect to be the most physical team in our league.
Did any particular players stand out in your eyes?
There were quite a few. I think it's important that my staff and myself, we go back and watch the film. We're going to go back and watch not only this combine workout, but we're going to watch all 8, and then go back and identify players that we feel like have potential to help us to build a winning program, and then really study and vet those guys out, study their film from college or their prior pro experience, and find the guys that we need.
To have a guy like Vinny Papale here as one of your tryout guys, knowing the family he comes from, the history, what his dad sort of did a couple decades ago, is that symbolic in any way of the kind of guy and the kind of journey that some of these people really go on?
I mean, it really gives you a sense of how important football is to Vinny, and his family. And that, as I mentioned, football is I consider it to be pure. I think it's the greatest meritocracy in our society. What you do on the field, what you put on tape, is ultimately going to define who you are in your football career.
The comparisons to the AAF are kind of inevitable being a spring league. What do you think makes the XFL different?
I would start by saying that the AAF, I thought it was a good football product. It was, for me as a football coach and a football fan, having the opportunity to watch a live game in the winter, in that part of the year, it was good. It was exciting to have something else to watch, and I feel super excited about the opportunity that we have as a league to corner that market, and we look forward to putting a product on the field that's going to make all the fans really excited to support our league.
What was your reaction when the AAF folded?
I thought it was unfortunate.
How important was it for you to come home? I mean, you are Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
This is our city here. So how excited were you at the job opportunity? Was it a no-brainer decision to come home, or,
my family, of course, they had a lot of input, and they factored a lot into the decision. My wife is a PG County girl. My mother-in-law, who lives with us, she's from D.C., also a Howard grad. And, this is home for us. But more importantly, just to have an opportunity to build a franchise from the ground up and really have my fingerprints on it, I thought the opportunity was rare, and it would be hard to come by if I passed on it. Hard to come by again. So I look forward to I really do look forward to fielding a team that this city can be excited about. It's also important for me and my staff to make sure that the community have access to pro football that they've never had before. There will be a connectivity between ourselves and the youth and the high school players, all the local fans, everybody who wants to be a part of pro football. Come and support us, because we're going to open the doors for you.
Also, as far as identities go, you've got some aerial coaches now in the league here. We've got, Trestman, CFL South down in Tampa.
Right.
He's building things. There's a lot of motion maybe happening going on down there. I've always kind of looked at your teams as more traditional style offense and approach, and you're almost on an island, you know what I mean, where you kind of lack an explosive gimmick, and I'm assuming a little bit of a utilization of tight ends and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about your game? You're on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, I think lacking would be a strong word and probably the wrong word to describe what we're going to do. But I will say this. I have a great appreciation for the physicality of the game of football. Right. It's the ultimate war of attrition.
I don't want to say Pep Hamilton has a chip on his shoulder, but he definitely, I could tell he has something to prove, and you could see it in his eye, at least standing two feet from him during that scrum at XFL Showcase in DC.
He brought up something that we haven't talked about, and the fact that this game is going to be played basically the opposite of the NFL season, where it's hot at the beginning, cold at the end. Here it's going to be freezing in DC in the beginning of February, and we're going to head into the spring where teams are probably going to have a little more leeway. But if you try to run those types of offenses, basically is what he's saying, in the cold, yeah, you're in trouble. I like Pep. Pep sounds like a solid guy.
I love Pep because he's no nonsense. He might be the youngest coach in the league, but there's zero nonsense going on at Summer Showcase in DC. He was, barking out orders to players when he took over the drills from Stephen Austin and his group who were doing the combine stuff. And I got to tell you, Pep Hamilton, he is so ready. I could see it in the man's eyes, and I cannot wait to see what kind of offense he brings. He's talking about physicality, and in a league where we're really kind of stressing finesse, it's going to be interesting to see just what kind of physicality he brings. I mean, he brought up the counter tray and how he's a big fan of old school Washington Redskins running attacks. What will be in store for the XFL when it comes to the run game in DC? We'll have to wait and see, but Pep Hamilton, really cool to see him at work in his element at XFL Summer Showcases DC, where he had a ton of great players, and a bunch of them were all over the place, but I picked out one in particular, a running back who played at Eastern Illinois. Why did I talk to this individual? Well, because I talked to a quarterback already, and I wanted to speak with someone who was there, had been through the rigors of NFL tryouts, who has a gleam in his eye, someone who had a support system that really was flagging me down to come over and talk to him. They're very cool people. Isaiah Johnson, the running back, Bryant, was so fun to hang out with a little bit afterwards at Summer Showcases in DC. And I spoke with him, and as a running back, he had a really interesting perspective on everything going on.
Yeah, he had an interesting perspective on the drills, right? Yesterday, on Friday, you talked to the quarterback. Now you're talking to a more position-based, running back. So that's a different perspective in itself. And then you're also going to get into the advanced metrics and the wearables that they had the players put on to help, with this concept of technology on the football field. So it's a great little snippet of a conversation that I'm glad you got.
Yeah, so I love talking to Isaiah, but I will say I was trying to flag down a lineman as a lineman at heart. That was what my goal, but those guys were off a little bit earlier because 7-on-7s were last, and they hit lunch, and it was harder to find him. So, but I talked to Isaiah. He was really cool. His family was awesome. They were there supporting him. A lot of these players had their support systems there in the stands in DC especially, which was awesome to see. And here's a bit of what I talked about with the running back from Eastern Illinois, Isaiah Johnson. How was XFL Summer Showcase for you in DC?
No, it was a pretty great showcase. They did some different things from what we did at our pro day, and they actually put more on-field work, and it was nice to actually just be able to do that and get away from some of the numbers that they always emphasize, and you could just play some football.
Yeah, they weren't poking and prodding at you too much today.
Yeah, they definitely kept it pretty simple with us and just gave us some nice drills and just got to.
How was the competition with the guys because everybody here is vying for jobs? It was pretty intense sometimes.
Yeah, it was some pretty good competition. You got a couple bounce back guys from that went to other NFL camps, and some guys that already been there. So you had some vets in here, and it was just nice to cope with their game, and they take notes from your game, and we're just all just sharing information. And we all have different traits, and we're all just trying to rub off on each other.
Yeah, it was cool. And I saw a lot of camaraderie out there as well, so everybody was getting along. There was no fights even with the linemen. I was watching them, or the DBs and the wide receivers. How about that ball, though? Did you get your hands on that thing? How did you like it?
Yeah, the ball was definitely different. We saw it, and we're just like it was just like a little pointier, a little longer. I was like, but the grip on it was nice, though. And I think you can have better catches with that. I don't think there's going to be too many drop balls in this league.
I didn't see too many today. Yeah. How about they were making you guys wear some GPS stuff I saw? How'd that work? How'd that feel?
Yeah, so they said they're going to measure our routes, and I guess they're like, I don't know what it's measuring, but they just had us throw it on, and they just wanted us to get in and out of our breaks pretty fast and efficiently, and so I guess they got some kind of technology working on that.
Yeah, I don't know what numbers we're going to get from it, but they said they had your suits were with GPS. Even some of the dummies had some sensors on them that felt force. So I thought guys were showboating and smashing into it, but that's actual numbers they're going to get from it. Well, man, good luck to you. I appreciate you joining us on the show for sure. Good luck. Brian, if I asked you to wear a device during the show so I could measure your pulse and how angry you get at Vince, would you do it?
As long as you're not sharing that data publicly, especially with Vince. I think that's a little personal.
You might have to sign a waiver. That was cool to see. It was from a player's perspective there, this was a very football centric camp. This was not like a combine in that you feel like a piece of meat. These guys were out there really playing football.
And they were breaking hard. They were asked to do things that if you're not playing hard, I don't know why you're there, but I understand the concept of we want you to make these things as efficient as possible because we are testing those out as well. That's at least from the league, it seems like. So it was a great little grab. Good luck to Isaiah Johnson, right? Is that the name? Good luck to him, and just good to see family there to support. If you remember last year at the AAF, they weren't even letting family onto the field during the tryouts.
Don't bring that up. I don't want to forget about that. It was good to see Isaiah Johnson. It was great to see the elusive guest, the guy I've been wanting to talk to forever, and I finally flagged him down. It was my mission in DC to talk to Sam Schwartzstein of the XFL, who's been so just vital to the football operations and the development of the league and the concepts when it comes to the rules and uniforms and the ball in particular, which is what I want to talk to. Sam was walking around with that football, Brian, and it seemed like he was obsessed with it, so I had to flag him down and say, hey man, you were working the hell out of this football. I have to ask you about it. What do you think of it? So that's what we talked about. We get into the football that the XFL is trying out. It's not official, of course. We've talked about it, but Sam Schwartzstein gives us a little insight into what the concept behind the football and also the wearables, the data that is being collected at the summer showcases.
Yeah, I think he goes into a little bit of what I've been talking about in terms of making the game a little more adaptive to your talent, right? He said something really good. I'm trying to remember what it was, but basically he's not trying to forge anything, right? The football's there to help, but they don't want to be accused of helping along their league entirely just because of the football.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not like a juiced baseballs. This is a football that's gonna be different visually, but also it's going to be performance-based. And Sam Schwartzstein gave us a lot of insight into the XFL football and also the concepts behind the data collection at XFL Summer Showcases. Very insightful stuff here from Director of Football Operations at the XFL, Sam Schwartzstein. All right, Sam, we got this special new concept ball, right? It's not officially the XFL football yet. A lot of talk about it since the first summer showcases. Can you tell us about it, the process behind it, and whatever you can tell us about the football?
Yeah, so our process of the football is very similar to how we're doing the rules, very similar how we're doing all of our talent evaluation. It's an experiment. It's a process. We're trying new things. We're looking for different things we can do. We're looking at some of the high-performing balls, like one of the Wilson balls, and we're working with Big Game, who makes a lot of the balls you'll see in college football. And we're just trying new things. So we're looking at different things that can help what can differentiate the league, but most importantly, how does this affect all the performance? Make sure our quarterbacks, our receivers, centers that I care a little bit too much about, but long snappers, that they're all comfortable with the ball because performance comes first.
The center touches the ball the most?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He's preaching the choir.
And can you tell us about the X's on the points of the ball at all? If there's any, because we've been debating on our show, are they like meant to be there for maybe being a target when they're in the air, easier to see? Is there a reason behind those?
So the X's on the ball, we refer to them as a lot of things in the office, but we talk about them as spikes. These are to kind of differentiate us as a ball. Other things about the ball is we looked at different color laces for the ball, different kind of lace structure, but some help with the tracking of the ball. We talked to a few players in the NFL, the different contrasts they have in their ball, where they have just white laces. Then some players think that the white stripe on the college ball, the half stripe, helps them track the ball in the air, and especially if you think about what happens at night games, right? The reflection of the lights off the ball. So we're thinking, what could be a different, unique way to leverage making us stand out, as well as a player understand tracking the ball. Again, we still look at performance as the number one thing. Of course. We're not trying to make it too easy either. I don't want fans to think that we're trying to manufacture success out of the ball, but
hard to do in football anyway. We need good players, and that's what we're here for. Last question. We see some of the players they're wearing, I guess these are the trackers, the tops that they're wearing, the Titans.
Yeah, so this is very cool. So we are partnering with the Gaines Group, who's helping out, and we're utilizing the Titan GPS, which is a different GPS tracker, one of the newer ones on the market. And we're looking at different things across football-specific drills. So we have the traditional combine drills around here that you'll all see, the 40, the 3 cone, and the broad jump. We're doing some triple broad jump as well that the Gaines Group has helped bring to us. But another thing that we have is all these DBs. We have DB-specific drills. We have wide receiver, running back, and tight end-specific drills, O-line and D-line-specific drills. So these drills, we now can do those drills or football-specific movements that players would have done in a game, but we've added GPS trackers to be able to get velocity, top speed, inertia, at all these different things. We've seen a lot of unique things. It's all preliminary data. We need to create a larger data set to have some hardcore findings, but what we're identifying is how powerful players are coming off the ball, their time, their amount they're able to sustain top speed, as well as utilize how much we have on these 3 dummies here. There will normally be a GPS tracker on each one of them, so we can actually see the force that a player will inflict onto another person.
Okay.
Right? And so we're able to translate it. We're not going to say that this is the way that we're going to only identify players, but we're going to have things pop, so we go back and watch the film to do reevaluations.
Yeah, it's going to be great when all the showcases are done. You're going to have all this data to sort every player out.
Absolutely.
And that explains why some of the players were smashing into these things. They weren't just showing off. They were just trying to show the force.
They knew what they were supposed to do, right?
That's really cool. Well, I appreciate the time, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot. Now with summer showcases on the East Coast in the books, let's take it out to the West Coast. And, well, Bryant and I's favorite XFL team, L.A. bias, baby. XFL Los Angeles' president, Heather Brooks Karatz, joined us earlier in the week. And it was cool to meet your new best friend, Brian, I gotta say.
We are the best friends that everyone can have. Look, this is going to be a cool little turn to this show, right? We've been talking solely football football on-field operations players. Now this is going to get you a little scene behind what goes on with the marketing strategies. How do you make fans of these XFL teams? Heather was gracious enough to come on the show and share some of her ideas and her goals. And this is a good aspect that I don't think a lot of people are focusing on, that I'm glad that we were able to get some perspective from a team president herself.
Exactly. You're right. This is a show that's been chock full of on-field football talk, but so important how these teams interact with their communities and the plans that are put in place and implemented by the team presidents. And we had our first team president on the show this week. Here she is, XFL Los Angeles' Heather Brooks Karatz. Heather Brooks Karatz, president of the XFL Los Angeles. Welcome to This Is the XFL Show, our first president.
Thank you so much for having me. It is such an honor to be on your show and to be the first president on your show. What you guys are doing is just incredible, and I love listening every week. I am a regular.
Well, we appreciate it, and I think it's safe to say, guys, it's the first time I've ever spoken to any kind of president. How about you?
Yeah, that's second time for me, but yeah, same one.
Unless you're counting like a chess club, I suppose.
Well, Heather, we've all been fascinated with the role of the presidents in the XFL so far. There's been a lot of debate on our show. I don't know if you've heard, but we've kind of debated on what actually goes on the day-to-day for you. So can you give us a quick rundown of what the day-to-day is for at least the president of XFL L.A.?
Sure. We're in startup mode, so every day is totally different. I can't predict what's going to happen, and even when I have a schedule, it changes every minute. And that's the exciting part of what we're doing, is we're building something from the ground up. And for anyone who's been in a startup environment, they know what that feels like. I oversee everything fan engagement related. That can be anything from corporate partnerships to marketing to ticket sales, PR, community efforts. The list goes on. And we really want to make sure that we have a great game day experience for our fans. But on top of that, it's really about building who we are and defining who we are. And when you're starting from scratch, that's where I spend most of my time now, is trying to figure out what is the XFL L.A., what do we want to stand for? And I know you guys have heard me say this before multiple times, but we are not building this in a bubble. We are going to define who the XFL L.A. is with our fans. And that's how we want to be portrayed. We want to find our fans. We want to work with them and build something great together.
Heather, in the little experience that you and I have talked, we met at a local Buffalo Wild Wings, and we talked for a few hours, and that was great. What other events, promotions, or even more so in the strategies can we expect from you marketing-wise and with the community outreach?
Of course. So we met last week at a meet and greet, something that came together pretty quickly, but the idea is that's the first of a regular series that we'll be doing in the LA market. Stay tuned for some more information in the coming days for another one next week leading up to the showcase. So you'll see another one pretty soon, and I hope, Bryant, you're able to attend, and a lot more of our fans as well. But that'll be something that's a regular, ongoing series that we do across different sub-markets in LA because we want to touch as many fans as possible.
Yeah, and you have a big market in LA too to do so. So it should be fun, and coming up with ideas like that. That's cool, the meet and greets. How much is the local strategy, Heather, going to differ from, say, St. Louis or Tampa? You said you're not doing it in a bubble. You're using the Los Angeles fans to help you build this team up and the identity of the team. So we don't want a bunch of homogenous teams looking alike around this league eventually. We want you to separate yourselves from the pack. So how are you team presidents coming together to develop collective ideas? And then also, how are you separating yourself and jumping off of that to make it your own?
So it's a great question. I couldn't be more excited to have the group of team presidents that our league has put together for all the different markets. It's a great group of folks, and we all come from different backgrounds and have different skill sets. We're on the phone almost daily, sharing ideas, sharing best practices, and also contributing at the league level for framework that we think makes sense in our markets. Locally, LA is different than the other towns. We are a large city, multiple professional football teams, multiple other professional teams, college football programs, and we have great weather and lots of other distractions. So for our fan base, there's just a lot of other things you can do. So we're bringing a new team into this market, and we're going to stand out by doing things differently. We're reimagining what it is to be a football fan and have a great game day experience.
Now, Heather, you've obviously done a great job of trying to connect with the LA community and get the awareness out there that the XFL is coming to Los Angeles next year. What would you say are your big goals starting now through the summer into the end of the year to get ready for the league premiering in 2020?
Sure. So our calendar is shaping up. Well, I know we have the showcases next week. Everyone is eagerly awaiting an announcement around our team name and logos. So I promise that those are coming later this summer, so you won't have to wait much longer. We're looking to have ticket sales launch at the end of the summer and a draft in early fall. Training camp will start at the end of the year, and before you know it, February will be here.
Heather, it's been a hot request by fans. You mentioned it, team names. Why do you think that's so important to fans right now?
The XFL as a league and as a brand is incredible. For a league that existed for a short period 20 years ago, it has incredible brand value that I think is important for all of our fans across the world and the country and in Los Angeles. But ultimately, our fans in Los Angeles are going to be cheering for the LA team. And they're going to identify with the LA team and what the LA team stands for. And that's going to be different in LA than it is in Seattle, Houston, Dallas, the other markets. So that name, whatever it ends up being, is going to have a connotation that our community is going to be able to latch onto and develop a connection with. And it's going to help form our identity and our story. So right now we're working. I promise it's going to be incredible, the name and all of our logos and uniforms that come out. It's going to be great. And once we put it out there, it's really going to only bolster the support in our local community and the engagement.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge day for all the markets later this summer. We can't wait for that. Personally, I can't wait for that as well. Let's switch topics a little bit and talk about this is a brand new league, right? This is a blank sheet of paper. How does being a brand new league afford you the chance to think outside of the box a little bit as team president?
Another great question. This is such a unique paradigm. I mean, coming from LAFC, I got to start a team from scratch, but now I'm starting a team and assisting in starting a league from scratch. That is a whole different set of circumstances where we truly have a blank sheet of paper. So where a lot of other teams in other leagues, when they're an expansion team, they're walking into a collective bargaining agreement, a set of league rules that are pre-existing, that are typically based on old preconceived norms of a league that's been around for several decades. We are now starting a league that has none of that. There isn't a collective bargaining agreement. There aren't existing rules. So we get to start from scratch and look at everything with a fresh set of eyes. We also have collective ownership. So it's much easier for us to enact policies and guidelines and marketing strategies across all of our teams or a portion of our teams. Rather than just focusing on what may work in LA, we could say something's great in LA, let's do it across all the markets. And that is a unique set of circumstances for all of our team presence in the league, and it allows us to think much more creatively on how we want to package our ticket sales. And also when we talk to corporate partners, they're not walking into a set of assets that they can pick from. Instead, we can sit down with a corporate partner and say, well, what does your brand stand for? And how can we create new assets, because none currently exist, that fit within who you want to stand for and how you want to engage with the XFL?
You mentioned partnerships there, Heather, and those are going to be so crucial, corporate partnerships, and of the big one that we heard about with Elevate, and that partnership regarding marketing and ticket sales. How does that partnership exactly work with the LA market and all the other local markets? Because we know you team presidents are interacting with them directly, right?
Absolutely. I could not be more excited to have a partner like Elevate on our side. The team that Al Guido has put together is truly remarkable, and they come at this with a similar perspective that we do, which is, how can we reimagine this for our fans? How can we make it better? And we are truly looking at ticketing with a blank sheet of paper and thinking about, what are new and innovative structures that we can incorporate into who we want to be as the XFL. We are on the initial stages of developing what our ticketing strategy will be and what those packages will be, so more to come. But each of the team presidents are working closely with Elevate to staff up and evaluate each of our individual buildings.
Heather, I'd like to ask you a little bit about some of the personnel hires that have been made for the LA team. We all know it doesn't matter what professional sports franchise it may be, the relationship between the president, general manager, owner, and the coach is very important. What has it been like working with Coach Moss, and how has that relationship been?
I could not be more thrilled to have Coach Moss as the LA coach. He is exuberant, he is fun, and I never know what he's going to say half the time, and that's what makes it so exciting. He is not afraid to take risks on and off the field, and we need that in LA. We need a little fun.
Yeah, I would say even for the XFL as a whole, it's got to be a fun league, and certainly he's all about that.
100%. And I can share that our leader, Vince McMahon's favorite word to talk about the XFL is fun. It has to be fun. And so that is a theme that permeates throughout.
Well, I think LA hit the nail on the head with Winston Moss whenever his press conference was spectacular. We've been talking about it nonstop, on and off the air from the show, Heather. So we're excited. Brian and I, as LA fans, already couldn't be happier with the hire. But also this week, a big announcement: the offensive coordinator Norm Chow, another great name, another great coach, joining the staff. So how excited are you and the team as a whole, knowing that you have staffed up now? You've got a lot of people in place, a lot of good people. Summer showcases are on June 21st. You're really hitting your stride. How awesome is it to just have the people in place pretty much?
It's coming together. I mean, we've looked at this once the showcases hit, our season is starting. It's go time. We have great personnel. All of our coaches are going to be in market next week leading up to the showcase. It is time to kick this into another gear and get ready for February 2020.
Well, Heather, the LA Summer Showcase is June 21st, so I will be there. I'm hoping to see you, and get to chat with you some more, and even some of the coaches. A lot of the Summer Showcase has been focused on players and building these rosters for 2020. Can you just talk about what you're expecting out of the showcase in terms of your role as team president?
Sure. So this is one of the first times that we're hosting an event in market, and it's one of our first impressions. We're really excited to give our deposit holders a first look into what we're doing. So put down your deposits, and we want all deposit holders to be there. They're getting special access to our first event with the LA Showcase. But I'm really excited to meet our fans. I'm excited to see everyone who shows up, who's so engaged to be there, to shake hands and really listen to people and hear about what they want out of the XFL.
Question about the deposit holders that you mentioned there, and I guess the fans in general. Is this difficult to sell tickets to fans when they don't necessarily know what it is they're buying? This is a brand new thing. We're all very hopeful it's going to be very exciting, and I think it's going to be. But is that a challenge in the local market?
I think we're just starting here. I mean, once we have our team name, we're going to have more of a presence and more of a story around who our team is. But everyone is excited about the XFL. And what I love doing with our events and being on the show with you guys is talking to you about what we stand for. And I think that is what's really compelling for attracting our fans and getting them engaged with what we're doing in 2020. It's super exciting to start something from scratch. There's great brand value and brand recognition with the XFL from the first iteration. And this is an opportunity for our fans to help create with us. And that's super exciting. That's not something you can get anywhere else.
It is very exciting knowing that we actually have listeners, Heather, and we don't even have team names yet, and people are so excited for the league. Like you said, the brand recognition. Imagine what this thing's going to be like when we have the identities, the team names, when we get the competition going. Like you said, it's only going to get bigger from here. We really appreciate your time being our first presidential guest on This Is the XFL show. Is there anything else we didn't mention that you need to let the fans of LA know that's coming up?
Just keep doing what you guys are doing, and I'm so excited to keep meeting more of our fans. Watch us on Twitter at XFL Los Angeles, on my Twitter handle at Heather B. Karatz. That's where we'll post a lot of information about our upcoming meet and greets and events, so that's the best place to get your news. And then, of course, you better keep watching and listening to the This Is the XFL show, because you guys are amazing.
I love it. All right. Well, we appreciate it again, Heather, and good luck at summer showcases and beyond. Go get them. And we're LA fans, Brian and I, so we're rooting for you specifically.
Thank you so much. I love hearing that, and look forward to spending more time together. Thanks for having me on.
I have to say that might be our most well-rounded episode yet. Again, all the football talk, and then we had
coast to coast
front office talk there. Coast to coast too.
We're touching every point we can. We're not trying to be we're a well-balanced podcast is what we are.
I mean, from presidents to commissioners to potential players to head coaches. I don't see how you could do it any better.
Well,
fans.
It's all going down in the XFL, the most prepared startup league. I believe we've been talking about it the past couple of weeks, and this just reiterates it.
Most prepared spring league of all time, Vince. That's what I've labeled it as, and it's all thanks to the cool people that are working at the league, and we got to talk to a whole bunch of them this week, and we're looking forward to doing some more of it. XFL Los Angeles showcase next week, Brian.
Oh, definitely. I'll be there. We'll have some. I'm hoping to have some great interviews. The bar's been set high by your interviews, Alan. But I'll try to meet that quota. Jake, please tell me that interview made you jealous that you don't get to go to that cool Buffalo Wild Wings meet and greets with team presidents.
I don't want to talk about
it. Nobody loves meeting and greeting at Buffalo Wild Wings more than Jake. He is. I can tell you, he is very jealous right now. But, Jake, you're going to have your shot at getting to some XFL events sooner or later because, I mean, I just got my feet wet with all this driving this week. I think I'm ready to – I might end up just going to every game every weekend. Multiple games every weekend come 2020. I love this driving stuff. As long as it's for XFL football, I'm down.
Well, Godspeed, my friend.
Well, you're always willing to – or you are always welcome to hitch a ride with me. Vince, you got anything left as we get out of here, man?
I just want to remind everybody out there that it sounds like the rule book is very close to being finalized. So if you have any extra ideas that you want to throw out there, let the XFL know. They are listening.
And Also, other programming, or not programming note, fan note. If you are in Los Angeles, Seattle, Tampa, or St. Louis, are 4 cities that haven't had their showcases yet, from someone who just went, go. It is like heaven for a football fan. You're on the field during a real-life combine. You get to speak to the commissioner of the league. You get to see him do a chalk talk where it's a Q&A session. You can meet your head coach, your team president. It's like Comic-Con for football fans. That's the only way I could relate it to something else. It was truly a happening that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I know Bryant's going to next week. And if you're a fan in any of those cities or near them, go. Really recommend it. So much fun. And thanks to everybody at the league who was so accommodating to us as well. For Bryant, for Jake, for Vince, I'm Alan. That's a wrap for a doozy of an episode, a well-rounded episode. Until next week, everybody, this is the XFL Show. Remember,
they're listening.